Hey everyone, welcome back to Found the Flock and to another podcast. Today we are talking to one of my friends, Brett Haskins. He played baseball at Fairmont and helped lead FCA with me and Harrison. I'm excited to talk to him, so let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to Found the Flock. Today we are here with Brett Haskins. Brett and I became friends at Fairmont State where he played baseball and helped lead FCA. And he is now playing baseball at Rio Grande. So I'm excited to talk to Brett, hear more about his testimony and what he's doing. Brett, how are you?
Doing good. First off, thank you guys for having me. We talked a little before, but I'm a pretty devoted fan, and I watch most of your guys' podcasts, so it's pretty cool to be involved in it. So I appreciate you guys for having me on here.
Yeah, thanks for coming
Yeah.
on, man.
So who is Brett Haskins?
Um, after watching a lot of the podcasts, I kind of thought about like how I wanted to answer this question, and it's a hard question to answer. I think I want to say like I'm a servant of God, but at the same time, you know, a servant does everything that his master asks, and I fall short a lot in my life. And so I think the best way that I would like to answer the question is like I'm a trying servant of God. I'm giving my all, but I know I'm going to fail, and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to try again. So I think I would say a trying servant.
So if you don't mind, do you care to talk a little bit about your testimony, like when you got in your faith, when you felt you really committed, and then talk a little bit too about your like leadership roles you've taken?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just start kind of at the beginning. Grew up in church, went to church every Sunday with my family. Got baptized when I was 11, I think, by my grandma. So that was a pretty cool experience. But really, I don't think I um, understood yet when I got baptized. It wasn't until COVID hit that I really tried to make a leap in my faith. My brother came home from college and was reading. He was in a Bible study with Isaac Miller at that time at Fairmont, and I was still in high school. And he came home, and I saw he was reading every night his Bible, and I was like, man, I want to try this. And I actually did try during COVID, junior year of high school. Tried a reading plan that was in the beginning of my Bible, and what it did was it just started in Genesis, and you read 5 or 6 chapters a day, and you moved on day to day to day, check mark the box. And that's what it became. It became a check mark of the box. And after 48 days or so, I got tired of check marking the boxes, and it became a chore, and it wasn't enjoyable. And at this point, as you know, like in the Old Testament, it's not like a very easy read. So as I'm checking these boxes and trying to read my 6 chapters a day, it became very hard to read those books of the Bible. So I kind of stepped away for a little bit, didn't read as much. And then I went to college and truly changed my life. So I never wanted to go to Fairmont, first of all. Fairmont was the last place I wanted to go because Tyler was there. And I said, I want to compete against my brother. I don't want to play with him. I want to beat him. And so actually I wanted to wrestle all the way through high school, and just one day my heart flipped. I was like, I want to go play baseball. Like I don't want to wrestle anymore. And Fairmont was the only offer that I really got. So uh yeah, I committed to Fairmont, showed up at Fairmont, and immediately started Isaac's Bible study. And I feel like every point that Isaac, and you can relate to this, Addison, but every point that Isaac said, like, it hit home to me because I was a fresh Christian at that point. I was lukewarm. Um, and so I grew a lot that first year of college. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Um, but as I moved through college, eventually I transferred out. Uh, but before that, I guess we really kickstarted and helped the FCA get up and running. And thanks, Addison. And we got up to, by the time I left, we were having 70, 75 people. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, I forgot I played baseball at one point. Like, I was just looking forward to Monday nights Tuesday nights, Wednesday. I mean, we had something every day of the week. It was awesome. And the growth that I made through a matter of 2 years was unbelievable. And ended up transferring out, headed to Rio Grande. That's where I'm at now. Just got my degree, but I'm going back for graduate school, and I'm having a good time. So, yeah, that's about it for me.
Yeah. So I remember talking to Isaac going into, because when I started in Isaac Bible studies when you did, and I was a sophomore, you were a freshman, I think, right? I
Yeah.
think you're one behind me. That next year, so you're a sophomore, my junior, that's when you decided to take over men's Bible study, like before I even said anything about FCA. What kind of put that on your heart for you and John to take that?
Yeah. I mean, Isaac had told us, kind of in a private setting that he was going to transfer at the end of that year, and he said that he needs someone, that he trusts to step up and do it, and he thinks that together, like, we could do a good job with it. And honestly, I wasn't ready, and I'm still not ready. Uh, but the Lord was ready. So, I mean, what He wants, He'll put on our hearts, and we had a good time with it. And um, really, it's just about having one person in there to keep the conversation going, and the conversation just flows after you get it started. So it was a really fun time, and um, really, I guess Isaac put it on my heart or brought it to my attention, but I know it was the Lord.
Yeah, I'm similar. Isaac, maybe not FCA specifically, but he had those like close to the end of the year like discussions with individual people. He's like, I see you in a leadership position. He didn't know what that would be yet, but he's like, I can see you stepping up. You just got to make that like last commitment on certain things. And I wasn't ready for that yet until like the next year, but yeah, that's cool. Josh, I'm gonna pass to you.
Yeah, just a lot of good things kind of that you were mentioning there. Kind of a big one that I wanted to ask first was you talked about obviously like just getting into your faith, and then like looking forward to those days, and that's awesome that you guys were able to do so much, and be able to see that growth so fast. But what was kind of like that transition period of like being somebody that was there, enjoying it versus changing that motivation from getting to enjoy those days to being a part of the leadership group and looking forward to leading those days.
Yeah, I mean, it's a transition for sure. Difficulties come along the way. It's different just showing up and enjoying it compared to kind of like setting the scene. And that's what we kind of had to do together with me, Addison, Harrison, John, when he was still there, like meet on Sunday nights or whatever it was. But um, the transition was actually a very important one for me personally because I had to actually step into my faith and open my Bible to teach other people. Like, it wasn't just being brought to me. I had to go find those things in the Bible. We had to go find those things in the Bible, and it made me I think learn how to read and comprehend better.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. That's definitely such a lot of people that you get to talk to of kind of when they kind of step into that big change of asking the questions versus being the one that has to go look for the answers. And actually, really quickly, I want to backtrack on it because of something that you said that really stuck with me. That I wasn't ready, but God was ready. And we've talked about God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the call, and there's 100 different ways to say that. But you talked about you wanted to go through wrestling through all right. Um, that in that same sense of where you weren't ready to give up wrestling, but God was ready to give up wrestling for you. What was that conversation with God like? What was that kind of decision making process like?
Um, I don't really know. I don't really know. I know that um, playing baseball in college wasn't something that I prayed about. It wasn't anything that I talked to God about, but He just literally one day like changed my heart. And I don't know, I just woke up and I was like, man, I love wrestling and I could see myself coaching wrestling in the future. But as far as playing, like, I enjoy baseball, I think, more now. And, I was having more success in that. Not that I was a bad wrestler, but like I was having success on the field and it was less mentally taxing, I thought. And obviously physically taxing. Wrestling is, I mean, it wears you down to a T. So um, I don't
I
know.
think baseball was the right decision there.
Yeah, I mean, I miss it for sure. But then I look back at the way like God has moved in my life, and I had gone on tons of wrestling visits, 0 baseball visits at this point, and I was ready to commit for wrestling actually, and I had been texting the Fairmont coach for baseball, and I hope he doesn't watch this, but like he was ghosting me, and like no answers, and I was ready to go somewhere else. And the night before, I was like pretty dead set on committing. He called me at like 8 o'clock and gave me an offer. Not a lot, but still like showed some interest back into me. So I actually committed to Fairmont pretty much on the spot there. And yeah, but just the way God has moved is just crazy. And going from wrestling to baseball, I mean, I could definitely tell like that was a move that he made. And without that, maybe I go to a different school. I don't get an Isaac's Bible study. I don't meet Harrison, Addison, John, Isaac. I don't meet those guys. And, who knows what my life could look like. But that's what I get for trusting God's plan and not my own. And I just, went with it. So,
Yeah. It's what's that?
I said, I think it paid off in the end.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things when you're looking back retrospectively on bigger decisions that you made and you realize like how much God took care of you, and it's almost that like, oh wow, it's like God really does have me. But in those moments, and I can imagine, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but in those moments of those big decisions, you do feel alone. But then when you get to look back, you're like, wow, God took care of me so much more than I thought He was.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so many instances I could bring up. I'll bring up another one while we're talking about it. But um, when I entered the transfer portal from Fairmont, I'm not going to say that that was totally a faith-based decision. Like I knew I was sitting the bench for 2 years playing baseball. I knew I wanted to play, and I truly think that God used my sport to put me where He wanted me. And when I was in the portal, Isaac happened to actually get a job out with the school that he played at, Evangel University, and they offered me a pretty substantial amount of money because he knew that I could play, and he was an assistant coach there. And again, the night before I committed, my dad said, "Hey, why don't you check out Rio Grande if you're going to go NAIA? Like, why drive 14 hours? This is 45 minutes away. Just check them out and see." And talked to the coach, and I enjoyed it. And when I committed to Rio, actually, Isaac found out that he wasn't getting that job at Evangel. And I was like, holy cow, like a day ago, I was about to commit to go play for Isaac. And now he's headed back home doing medical sales. And like, it gives me chills just to think about the way that God moves in those ways, even through my sport. And I don't know, like it's just a special feeling when you know that God is directing your path, and you can just kind of sit back, put your hands up, and enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. If I can, real quickly, you were in the portal before talking to these schools, right? We had a big thing with Isaac.
Yes, I saw that Isaac was
Yeah.
illegally recruited, and
Yes.
I hope the NCAA puts the punishment on him that he
Okay.
deserves.
There
Right.
we
He's
go.
Yeah, he's a horrible model for the NCAA, and he should really get reprimanded for that.
Justice will be served. Don't worry.
I was about to ask you that question of like the transfer portal and what made that decision. Do you care to go more into it, or was it strictly just you wanted to play baseball and those two? Well, I guess the one school was like opening up, and then another one opened up, or was there maybe more to it that you'd want to go into?
Yeah, there's definitely more. I mean, we talked a lot at night, but me and Harrison, like pretty much every single night, we were hanging out and talking. And John, obviously, before he left in the fall, but in the spring, like I knew that it was on my heart, and me and Harrison talked, and we also felt, I say we, I also felt like we were in a good position in Fairmont. like we had the FCA under control. We had people that we trusted in the future. And the way I look back at it is like the disciples, once Jesus died, they stayed together for a short period of time, but then they spread apart and they went to preach different parts of the world. And I feel like that's kind of the point we got at Fairmont, was like we had the core group, we had it blossoming in the right direction. Now it's time to kind of spread out and go do it in other places.
Yeah, and it was definitely taken care of when we left because I graduated. But I remember, for me, I did not pray as much as I should have, or maybe listen to God in this decision. But I remember during SCA, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to come back for graduate school. Wasn't going to wrestle, but I was like, you know what? If SCA is taken care of for next year, that's my sign to leave. If not, then I'll stay, or at least think about staying. And probably should have prayed more on it, but it was still taken care of. And either way, God's will is going to be done, and it was taken care of, obviously. So it's doing good, and they're getting even more people now than when we had, which is cool to think about.
It's unbelievable. Like, again, it gives me chills to think about like
Yeah.
state of FCA. And if you're at Fairmont and you don't know that they have an FCA, I think you're a liar. Like, you
Yeah.
have to know that Monday nights on the football field, it's a party. Like, there's no way you don't know.
Yeah,
My,
actually, I don't
Go
want to
ahead, Josh.
interject too hard, but I actually have a question for both y'all, simply because you're both kind of bouncing around the answer. It was like, you Brett getting ready to transfer out. Obviously, that's a decision in and of itself, versus Addison graduating. But for both of y'all, what was it like taking that much time? Being with God, being with the guys, building up FCA, and being a part of that, and then that time to realize, like, all right, it is time to step away. What was that kind of decision making like for both of y'all?
Brett, I'll let you go.
Yeah, I'll go first. Um, I think it was a period of trust. Like, we built such a strong relationship with the people in there, and we had conversations with other people about possibly being leaders, and we even got to the point where we were like breaking into small groups and having separate like subdivisions of leaders. And like, we had so many people that were qualified through the kingdom to be a leader that, for me, it was, I trust these people with everything in me to keep this thing going, and I knew that they would. So that's my answer.
Yeah, for me, once I knew Harrison was for sure staying, I knew we had at least a main leader. I knew people like Austin were stepping up and staying, Justin stepping up and staying, along with a couple other people, and also knew that we still had BCM. So if FC ever needed anything or leaders, we had Carla and Stan there. And then for me leaving, it was a tough but not tough decision. It was a tough decision because I didn't want to do it, but it was an easy decision, and like I didn't think much of it. I felt like I should have left, mainly because I was supposed to get a job. Like I was like, because I talked to Brett about it actually. I texted you, Harrison, and John like, hey, like letting you guys know I'm about to go in for, it wasn't an interview, but like to go talk to this company. Um, just pray that this is a right thing for me, and it did. It seemed like that's where I was going, and then all of a sudden the job wasn't made. So for me, it was maybe more selfish, not so much more on like how Fairmont was doing, but like where I thought God wanted me to go. It's not where He wanted me to go, at least right now. But that was kind of my decision making. Yeah.
Awesome. And then kind of a follow up again for both of y'all, because again, Brett, you hit on something that Harrison talked about in a different way. You described it like, if you don't know FCA is going on, like, like, what are you doing? And the way that Harrison described it was like, people are taking tours of the school and saying, I don't know if I want to go here because it's too religious. How was that kind of transition for both of y'all? Seeing that go from a school where it's like, this is a typical state school, and then seeing that change across campus.
That's awesome. I mean, when I heard him say that, I was like, holy cow. Like, and it is true. Like, there's a revival going around, like, around the United States. Like, college students are really buying in. And to say, or to hear that someone said that on their tour, it's heartbreaking that, you know that's something they're not interested in. But at the same time, it's heartwarming that that we've made that much of an impact that someone is not going to pick a school because we're doing such a good job spreading the news.
Yeah. First, I want to know how many people did come to our school because of FCA. Because when I was running the Instagram account, I was sometimes checking new followers that we were getting, and I was realizing they weren't at Fairmont State yet. Some were still in high school. Some were Fairmont State commits. Some were people that just took a tour that didn't even commit to Fairmont State, but they wanted to follow the page, I guess. So, I mean, it's cool to think about. It's cool to think about who God uses to. Didn't know Harrison the year before. I knew Brett decently, and I didn't know much in his personal life, but I knew in our studies, like neither of us were really leaders at the time. It was just Isaac and somewhat Tyler and a couple other people, but then it's like all of a sudden me, you, John just kind of made that flip the next year. So it's cool to think about like we weren't years of being in years of leadership positions. We were starting that year and God said, let's go. And yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I love being. My mom went to Fairmont, so we have small ties to Fairmont. But just hearing about a school that we were so close to at one point, having that big of a transition is honestly beautiful.
Yeah. I want to go back to the numbers push again because you were talking about how a little bit before this, we were talking about how we were getting up to like 70 people that year. One of the most, in my opinion, the most fun parts of it were there were Sunday nights where me, Harrison, and Brett were just sitting there trying to figure out like what our lesson was that day or whatever. And then certain days, I don't even remember how we picked those days. We were like, all right, we're getting an average of 30 people now. Let's push for 50. And we were reaching out to the most random people, athlete, non-athlete, and we get like, all right, we're supposed to get 50. We're like counting the numbers, and it's not just about the number of people, but that's still a fun part about it. And we get like above 50, like, all right, we waited a couple weeks, right? What number are we aiming for now? Let's aim for 70. And we got like 77. And so we had like what we called little pushes, like our is that what do we call them? I think we called them like our pushes, but I just remember like that was a fun part about it. That was another fun part about it.
Yeah, I don't even know, but I mean, I'm sure you know this, but like we had people showing up to this thing that were like 30-minute drive, not from Fairmont, like
No.
not even an athlete. Like it was just unbelievable. We were bringing in all kinds of people. Like people would be 2 hours away, but just like crossing through for the week or something, and they would come to the FCA. Like it was just awesome, and I really do miss that about Fairmont. I miss the people and that atmosphere.
Yeah, the way y'all talk about it, do you guys ever consider changing the name? Fellowship of Christian Athletes
Yes,
is just
we
fellowship.
did. So there was a small conversation of this, and it was we weren't official. We just said we're going to call ourselves FCA. We have an FCA Instagram account. We're going to go. But we decided that if for some reason FCA said we don't want you guys doing this for whatever reason, we're going to keep everything the same, and we're just going to change the name to Fairmont Bible Studies or something like that, just to keep going. I don't know if you remember that conversation, Brett, but I just remember, at least in my head, I was like, I know we're not official. We could get in trouble for this. So if we do, we just got to be ready to change the name.
Yeah, I remember that. That was not a scary time because I knew that if we got in trouble, no one would care and we would still show up on Monday nights.
Yeah. Once we got the athletic director's go on it, we were set.
Well, we kind of had an in. Like we kind of, I'm not going to say who like kind of helped us out, but someone related to Addison was in the department.
Oh, I wonder who that could be.
How,
I don't know. God had it worked out.
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Brett, I'm just gonna. This is random, but what was probably your favorite lesson that we did?
Oh gosh. My favorite I'll say this. My favorite lesson was probably when we talked about prayer, and because
Yeah.
seeing groups break up, um, or seeing the one group break up into multiple groups and going into groups of 4 or 5 and praying together and people coming back crying and like not sad tears, like just life changing tears. That was probably my favorite lesson because we're teaching people how to pray, and this is something that they can do every single day, and it literally changes their lives and saves them. So yeah, that was probably my favorite.
Yeah. Were you gonna say your favorite moment? I heard you say like, "Oh, my favorite," and then you change it.
Well, my
Was
favorite
that it?
moment was seeing those groups like
Yeah.
praying.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Addison would be like, everybody be back in 15 minutes, and it'd be like 35 minutes, and people are still out there, and I'm like,
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of on that, you talking about like favorite message and being something like prayer and building messages, especially at least in my personal life, trying to create messages have completely changed not only how I approach God, but how I approach the Word and how I approach prayer. So, kind of since stepping into those roles, how's your reading either plans changed, or when you get into the Word, how do you approach it differently than when you did? I know you talked about like that checkbox for a while versus like what's that kind of difference like today?
Yeah, I know you guys have heard about it twice, but I'll bring it up a third time. The daily chapter that me, Isaac, John Romig, Harrison do. We've made it all the way through the New Testament. We started the Old Testament. We're in Genesis. We're over 200. I've read my Bible for 224 days in a row. Um, that's what keeps me going. And sometimes Harrison said it too. Like sometimes that's the only chapter I read in the day. But sometimes, someone will say, "Hey, go check out Isaiah today." Like I liked this chapter, and I'll read more. But for like the foundation part, like that's what's the foundation of my reading right now. And I think we should read as much as we can, but at the same time, one chapter is it's not enough to become a chore. But I actually like really enjoy it now, and there's some days I don't get back until 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, or don't get done playing video games or whatever I'm doing. But I'm not falling asleep until I read that chapter and send my message in the group chat. And um, it's just been cool to experience that. I've never read my Bible for 220 days straight before.
Yeah.
We started doing that a little bit too. We're not doing the whole New Testament. We might be eventually, but we're kind of just starting in First Corinthians. We're not very consistent yet. Like for bits, we'll go consistent every day, like sending the message, not saying they're not reading or we're not reading, but
Yeah.
we started with First Corinthians. I'm on chapter 7 or 8 now.
Seven, yeah.
Yeah, because I know some of us, like Josh was ahead at one point and I was a little behind, but like just sending in, even if we're just reading a chapter, sending it in, it helps when you have like friends that holding you a little bit accountable, a message group that you could read. So like if you don't know what a verse means, maybe one of the other 4 or 5 friends can like knows it,
Mm-hmm.
and you can read their notes. So I did like,
Absolutely. The accountability thing is huge. Like
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
you can do a group like that without having a core group of guys. And honestly, that's what I was most scared about leaving Fairmont was like, what do I do now? My accountability's gone. Like I don't know anybody. But thankful to technology, like the one thing that technology is actually good for is keeping in touch with people. And um, I was able to keep that accountability with John Harrison and Isaac. However, if Harrison listens to this, at the beginning of our one chapter a day, he would just say like verse 20 is cool, verse 19, verse, dude, you have to elaborate. I'm not gonna. I was like, Harrison, you got to write more. Like, you got to tell us why.
I think for now on, you should just be like, Isaac, I really like the point you made, or John, and that's all you send for the day. Like, you guys made some great points today. Great chapter. See you
Yeah.
tomorrow. Also, I did like that you brought up the one chapter isn't a chore thing. Like, it doesn't come a chore. I feel like, especially at Fairmont, we got hard on each other, which was good, but I felt like at times we had to read so many chapters a day, and that would go for me to not read anything because I'd look at it as a chore. One chapter is perfect right now because I could read it, think about that one lesson today instead of thinking of 3 different lessons from 3 different chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get to focus on that one thing at a time. I think it's good if you do like the Bible in a year or stuff, but sometimes it's good to just read the one chapter and get into it.
I feel like as well, kind of like when we talked with Logan, is that different seasons for different reading plans. Because like in the Old Testament right now, I'm in Numbers, so struggle bus, but reading 4 or 5 chapters can be a little bit of a hassle in terms of, and again, God knows my heart, so I'm not saying something He hasn't already heard. But it can be a little bit of a struggle in a sense of there's so much reading, and it's basically, especially in Numbers, is just counting. But something like the New Testament, where it's maybe not history or getting out of law or getting out of prophetic text, is a lot of the New Testament is very hard hitting, meat. They talk about it talks about feeding new Christians milk versus giving them the meat and potatoes, and a lot of especially in Paul's letters can really just be a lot of heavy meat, and so you're just kind of sometimes it's a lot to work through. But
Yeah, the
yeah,
the New Testament is the New Testament is where new Christians should go, specifically the Gospels. The Old Testament is like the I got to sit down and think about this. Like, it's not going to jump out of the page. But I mean, I could read the New Testament all day long. I feel like, especially Paul's letters, and he's kind of a boss, like in those stretch of books there. Like, Paul knows what he's talking about, and he's not afraid to hold everybody accountable, and that's how we should be. So
yeah,
yeah, the New Testament is definitely more page jumping than the Old Testament is, I think.
yeah. Until you get some of Paul's letters, and it's starting to step on your toes, and you're like, this kind of hurts a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
You're heading. Are you still playing baseball, or are you done now? So you're
Yeah,
heading to your 5th year.
I'm in my 4th year of college, but I'm starting my graduate degree at Rio Grande. Actually, another quick side tangent. I hope my new coach does not listen to this. I was actually kind of using Rio as like a bounce option. I was gonna bounce in for 1 year, see what was popping, and then head somewhere else. Um, so I had talked to California University of Pennsylvania, and they were super interested, but they wouldn't take all my credits. So I came to Rio, and obviously that door just like slammed open all of a sudden. And I was keeping contact with this. I hope this isn't illegal. I was keeping contact with this California coach, and just about graduate school. And I was like, I'm still coming there in the next 2 years. Well, again, I got ghosted again, and I was like, what in the world is going on? And the end of the year hits, and he retired from that school. So it would have been an absolute dead end. So yeah, I'm back at Rio again for the next 2 years, and I'm super excited to see what I can get going there. And already have a men's Bible study with the baseball team a little bit. Hopefully, be more consistent this year. But uh, yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you. Like, well, what are you excited for going into? I guess your last 2 years, and that could be baseball, education, faith related. Like, what are you excited to go into?
Yeah, I get the pleasure of being a graduate assistant coach this year, as well as playing. So I'll be a little player coach for the next 2 years. Get to see the ins and outs of the kind of more the front office side of baseball, and also get to relay like my ideas from playing to coaching every day in the office. So I'm excited for that. And then also I have a really young team, and I get a chance to be a leader, kind of an upperclassman leader. So I'm excited for that. And then as far as faith goes, like I said, just excited for the Bible study. I've had a couple guys contact me and say we need to make sure to get Bible studies going this year, and hopefully be a little more consistent. We lost it towards the end of the year last year, but so that's kind of what I'm excited for.
Yeah, easy to do, especially towards the end of the year if you don't have multiple leaders like we were blessed to have when we were there. So, Josh, you have
Absolutely.
anything else?
uh,
Because I was gonna get into a different topic unless you had another question.
kind of on that, I was bouncing between two things. And so kind of a two-parter, and you briefly touched on it, moving into the player coach, seeing the front office. So one, do you feel like that's a door God's opening for a possibility, staying in sports, staying in baseball, moving more into that side? And then kind of what the question was originally going to be is, where do you think God's really pushing you right now to further the kingdom? Obviously at Fairmont, you got to do so much there in this new space with new people. Where do you feel God's really like pushing you into maybe leadership again?
Yeah, I'm getting my graduate degree in sport and coaching leadership. Not really wouldn't really be my first choice, but that's kind of the best one they have at Rio. Um, but what I want to do is statistical analysis, like sports analytics. So that's kind of why I'm in the coaching role there. Um, I feel like that's kind of direction I'm being pulled. Um, I've kind of always wanted to do it because of my love of sports and stuff, but I think the direction God is like pushing me is just to be around my teammates and help my teammates. When I showed up, it honestly it really wasn't a pretty sight, and like it wasn't fun to go to practice and listen to some of the conversations that were going on. So to hopefully change some of my teammates' hearts and like be a light for those guys is kind of where I'm being pushed towards right now.
That's awesome. What did you get your undergrad in?
Uh, I got it in sport and exercise studies, which is pretty much exercise science. So I did 2 years at Fairmont and finished up this year, a year early because of high school classes. But
Okay.
that's what I got my undergrad in.
That's awesome. Yeah, sports analytics would be awesome though.
Yeah, it's a growing field. I mean, I could go into like sports betting, which is, is a very hot topic and a growing topic. But I also would like to just be in like a front office and like scout and evaluate prospects, whatever. But
Hmm.
kind of where I'm at.
I want to get into gambling too, so that works out.
I
Maybe
wouldn't mind. I would
we can
not
work,
mind.
we can work together on it. It seems it's a what's that called? It's a steady career, I think, if you do it right.
Yeah, definitely steady. Like I was thinking, like my favorite team is the Steelers, of course, and
Right.
like if I'm gonna put $100 on the Steelers every week, like if they lose, just the next week I'll put 200 and win it back. Like it
Right.
can't.
It's
It
simple.
hard. It can't.
Yeah.
They're gonna 9-8. I'm gonna
Nine
finish
and
over.
eight. Well, we have
Yeah,
Aaron Rodgers, and maybe 10-7.
and Zach Frazier. We're gonna be 12
Zach
and 5.
Frazier. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
12 and 5.
Yeah. Dang.
Steelers fans, everybody.
Found our career.
Yeah, but I don't know. That was one thing that really convicted me was sports betting, and I did uh, indulge a little bit in that, but um, it is a dangerous thing, and it's not at all farthering the kingdom. And when I realized that, well, when it really hit home was when I kind of turned away, and we have to hit that point at some point with everything of like, is this really benefiting God? Because whether I win $200 or nothing, like God's not going to see how much money I won on FanDuel when I go to the kingdom.
Present that when you're trying to get the crowns to throw at his feet. It's like, look at my FanDuel account. It's all good.
Yeah, yeah.
So with Isaac and Harrison, it kind of went within the conversation a little bit on just kind of picking their brain and some of the wisdom they have through scripture. So I was gonna kind of switch topics and maybe talk to you little bit about that stuff you've learned and maybe lessons you've learned. So I guess kind of already talked about the favorite lesson, and that was prayer. Is there a favorite lesson for you to like that you've led or like taught? And
Um,
and why is that? I guess.
yeah. First of all, Harrison and Isaac are two of the most like wise people that are my age that like I've ever met, and it's been awesome. Kind of, me and Harrison are the same age, but it's been awesome like kind of being under his wing to a sense. Like he's taught me so much just the way like he looks at life, and Isaac is the same way. Like without Isaac, we might not be talking on the phone right now. And I don't know, it's just been special to see how those guys live out their life every day. But to answer the second part of your question, um, when I was doing the men's Bible studies, I did one on pride and how harmful pride is to our everyday life, I guess. And I kind of did this because, like I said before, like I wasn't playing in baseball much, and all I was thinking about was myself. How can I do? Like, how can I get on the field? And the Lord speaks to me a lot in scriptures. Like He just pops it up, like maybe a verse of the day on the Bible app, or I just open my Bible. We've done this before. Just open our Bible to a random spot and read whatever it is. I'm telling you that, like for me, for some reason, that works every time. Like the Lord's gonna put on that page what He wants me to hear. And at that time at Fairmont, I was very prideful. And when I read about it was Haman and Mordecai, and Mordecai he was had a lot of humility, and humility is the antidote to pride, and it's the only thing that can overcome pride. That story just taught me a lot, and he was exalted in the end and became like the king or whatever it was. But probably my pride lesson. And then I also did a little like 3-week series or 4-week maybe on different like words like love, what is faith, what is hope, um, things like that. And um, I don't know, I had a lot of things that I wanted to talk about with the group. And guys like Andrew Manley and the Canterbury, like they just kept those conversations flowing. And
Hmm.
they were the most random people. They would bring up the most random ideas, but then like we could feed off each other. And me, you, and Harrison and John, we could just like tie everything together. And I don't know, it was just special to be around those guys all the time. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I did like how, at least in FCA, if someone brought a question up, if I couldn't answer it, I decided to make a look at you or Harrison, and they were answering it. If they couldn't, there's at least a third or fourth ready to go. And Dwayne was our obvious like secret
Oh my
weapon.
gosh. Dwayne Johnson, like the rock, like literally the rock of our Bible study. Like that dude,
He
he's
was
a third,
quiet.
he's a third one that's like so wise. Like he
Yes,
so smart when it comes to the Bible.
he's quiet, but he would make one or two tangents every so often, like have him. And when he spoke, everyone, it like the room got more quiet than it already was. Like everyone would be quiet, paying attention. It's like when Dwayne talked, everyone was listening. It was cool.
And everyone would just look at each other and like smile. Like he was just a special guy.
Yeah. So when you brought up like you random topics like what is love, what is faith, what is hope, we're doing a series now on like who is God, and we did a lesson on this before, and we were able to sum it down to what is God is our creator, God is love, and God is light. We did a lesson on that, me you and Harrison did. So we're doing a series on it on this channel. Right now I have creator, love, light. I've only done the creator one so far. Love, light, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Any others you could think of that we could put in this series that maybe we can make a video on later? Because he's so many things, but I thought I'd ask you because you and Harrison be the people I ask anyway. So
I don't know. Off the top of my head, like the love thing I think stands out above all. Like when people ask like or talk about love, like it can't be taken lightly. And the verse that literally says just God is love, like
mhm.
that I could just read that in the Bible and know everything, I feel like. So I think maybe I don't have a new idea, but maybe put an emphasis on God is love. Like that's so important.
No, I agree. I like that. I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things
I was writing
that's
it down.
easy to forget. Yeah, definitely one of those things that's easy to forget though, especially kind of how we dilute God's love towards each other sometimes. That it's easy to forget that God has that perfect love towards us.
Oh, I just remembered. So you are also big into outdoors, similar to Harrison. That's another reason you two became friends. Harrison talked little bit about how he gets close to God in nature. Do you believe that you get closer to God being in nature? And How's that for you?
Absolutely. I haven't shot a buck in 4 years now. Uh, I'm one of the hunters that's like, it's too small. Every year, it's too small. Like, I'm not going to shoot it. I'm going to let it grow, and then the neighbor shoots it. Like, I just like being out in the woods. I just wish that God sometimes in the winter would like put a little heater on my tree stand so that I didn't have to go in as early. But like, I just, when I'm sitting out there, especially when you first get in the stand and it's 6 a.m. and it's pitch black dark and you can't see anything, it's just like a sense of peace. And I'm sitting out there with literally like just his creation, like the trees and the leaves and the animals like walking around me, but maybe I can't see them yet. Like, it's just, I just find a sense of peace out there. And um, I mean, it's something that I think I'll continue to do like the rest of my life, even if I don't shoot anything. Like, it's not about the prize; it's about the process.
I like it.
Yeah.
Josh, I'll toss it to you.
I've pretty much had everything I've answered. Basically, most of the questions I had written down. Addison, you hit as well. I just really like that last bit you talked about. Finding things that you enjoy, but the things that you enjoy are still focused around God, and that's a really good way to enjoy and find that rest in God. Like sometimes it's very easy to just say, go to God, you'll find rest, but sometimes it's hard to find that outlet where you get that rest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's also important to know like it's a process to try to put God first in everything. Like, it's not always a success. It's not always easy. Um, you know, we're doing this like series in my church, like Sunday school, and it's kind of a joke between like our siblings, but my grandparents run it. And it actually does have like a really good message behind it. Like, first things start with a dream. Like, there's six phases of faith, I guess they call it. But it starts with a dream, and then with God's dream that He puts on your heart, you have to make a decision. And once you make the decision, I think the next one is like delays. Like, you make a decision, but maybe things aren't going to happen yet. And then after the long delay, like, you keep with your faith, you keep believing. Then the difficulties come. Like, maybe I finally got the job, but now I hate my coworkers. Like, my boss is being mean and making me do things that I don't want to do. So then you come to a point of a dead end. And that's like number five is a dead end. And, you feel like everything is lost and you feel like you're at a point of rock bottom. And I've been there, and I'm sure we've all been there at some point. But the last phase is like the most important one. And it sums up God's love. It's deliverance. Like, if you keep that faith through the dead ends, the difficulties, the delays, the dream, the decision, everything, like, God will deliver you in the way that He wants it to happen. Maybe it's not what you started like dreaming about. Maybe it's not that first idea, but the deliverance will happen if you keep that faith in God. So yeah, that was kind of like, I just summed up like our Sunday school thing and like, but that was the best that I could do it.
Is it called like the 6 Ds or something?
It's like the Six Phases of Faith by Rick Warren is the guy that does it, and he's like a really boring guy to listen to, but it's a good message.
It's good. I just noticed that it says like dream, decisions, delays, difficulties, dead and deliverance. I don't know. That's cool. Makes it
Yeah,
easier to
it,
remember.
it does. It definitely does.
Yeah. I'm starting to run out of questions. Josh, you answered this before, and Josh, you might have asked this, but uh, to slowly finish up, anything that fires you up to get up in the morning. I know we kind of answered that earlier, but I want to get back to it.
Um, I think I kind of have two more examples that I just want to share, with the people that listen about this, but like, just realizing what God has already done for me and knowing that He'll continue to do those things for me is what fires me up. And when life gets hard, you just got to remember, like, I've been there before. I've been in the storm, and He carries me out every single time. So Yeah, I don't know. It's got a notification there, but it's sometimes overwhelming to wake up and know like maybe I don't have plans for today or something's going wrong in life, but to realize that it's all going according to God's plan is just crazy. So, the one of the ones that kind of I think about all the time is when I first moved to Rio. I showed up and we had like 2 weeks before baseball started. I had zero friends, didn't know anybody there on the campus, except one guy that I didn't talk to. And every day I would go and read on these like stone stairs. It's like a really old campus. And it was like a seating platforms, but it was like stone and grass and it was weird. But I would go read every single day. And one day I was reading in Judges, I think, and this lady walked up and she asked what I was reading, and I said Judges, and she said, I didn't realize you were reading the Bible. Like, we just got to talking, and she said, I went to Fairmont, played softball, um, and I have this Bible study here that I'm trying to start on campus. And I was like, holy cow! Like, she said that she had just prayed, like that she saw somebody because she's in the same situation. Like, she had just moved recently to the area and didn't know anybody, and we both just happened to be there at the same exact time. Like, that just doesn't happen. And she was from Fairmont. Like, that just doesn't happen. I went to Fairmont. Like, what is going on? And so that was kind of like a huge moment for me in my faith. Was like, I know nobody right now, but God is putting people in my life. So that was one. And then the other one, I can't even think about what I was going to say because I got lost on that tangent. But yeah.
That was good. That was cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
Josh, you want
yeah, real quickly, just that point that you were hitting on, coincidences don't happen. It's always God, and it's having an experience like that is kind of surreal because it really, at least for me, when instances like that happen, it's really kind of that affirmation that God is with me, God is here, and He's constantly working, and because I'm an idiot, sometimes I'll forget that, and then you just have a random interaction like that, or what we feel is random, and it's God saying, hey, I'm still here and I'm still using you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you there just has to be times in the day that you just talk to God. And I mean, me and Addison used to talk about it all the time. Like, you can't use him as a vending machine. Like, when you need something, you can't go to him, but you can if you're on that friendship level. If I had a friend that I never talked to, and then every time I needed something, I went to them, like, how good of a friend am I? Like, I'm just using you for that. So if we get on that level with God and talk to him every day, I think those coinky dinks happen more often. And um, we get to that point of a friendship where God is every day popping up in my life. And an important way that I do that, especially in the baseball field, because it gets chaotic out there, like my thoughts, how I'm doing, like balancing that. Um, sitting the bench opened my eyes to the game and made me realize that to be successful in sport, you have to have a life outside of it. And that life for me was Christ. And um, what I did was I just wrote down on a sticky note, like, Jesus died for me, and I put it in my back pocket every single game. I didn't play a game without it in my back pocket. And when I struck out, like, and I would go out in the outfield and be so mad at myself and wonder, like, why did I just do that? What am I doing right now? I'm just like sucking it up. And I pull that out of my pocket. It like just changes my whole mindset and locks me back into what's important. And I was able to play a full season of baseball with no worries. Like, because I had that in my back pocket, every single time I got into a stressful situation, I pulled that out and it was like a total reset of my mind. So that was a pretty cool experience to be able to play baseball with zero pride. Like, I could go 0 for 4, but I know that, hey, there it is. Jesus died for me and nothing else matters.
That's amazing, man. That really is amazing. Actually, that kind of one last question before we hit our fun one. Um, it's easy to look at habits that you've established now in your faith, but maybe what's a piece of advice or even just a good habit when you were first getting into your faith, or to just anybody who's new to their faith, especially in this, college realm, 18 to 22, 23. What's that one piece of advice or daily thing that they could be doing that would help them in their walk?
Oh my gosh, I have a lot. I'll just hit on a couple that I can think of. Like I said, talk to God. Like I stand in the outfield, I kid you not. I stand in the outfield and I just talk to God. Like I pray. I can pray with my eyes open. I can pray when I catch a fly ball. I can pray whenever I want to. I can talk to God whenever I want to. You just have to be in an attitude of prayer. You don't have to be in a posture of prayer. And another one would be to set reminders on your phone. I set a reminder for 1:30 p.m. every day and 10:45 a.m. every day. One is the verse of the day, and one is this is a reminder to pray. And so no matter what I'm doing, it kind of flips my mind back to that and resets it a little bit. Then the other piece of advice that I would say is don't burn yourself out on reading. Like kind of what I talked about at the beginning was I just overloaded myself and it was too much to handle as a new Christian or as a lukewarm Christian, I guess. And um, literally one chapter a day, like it's enough to be sufficient for me and um, understand like what God's trying to do with my life. So those are my kind of three points, I guess.
That's awesome. I mean, that alone's gonna, I think really touch a lot of people. So, Addison, you got anything else?
I'm good.
All right. Well, I think you know what's coming at this point. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Uh, my answer is no, it does not.
Thank you.
That being because I don't like pineapple on pizza. It's not about Isaac gave this bullcrap answer about like, well, it depends on if the person wants it or like what's available. No, I don't like pineapple on my pizza. It doesn't belong there. So it's not availability. Like it's nothing to do with availability or like some more flavor. Like maybe I want to try it. Like if it's life or death and there's a pizza sitting right there, I don't want to see pepperoni or not pepperoni on it. I don't want to see pepperoni is a must. You have to have pepperoni.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
for answering that the right way.
Honestly, that's the first no we've had in a while because we've either had people are like me where it's like absolutely, or for the first time ever you have these like it depends, and then you
Yeah,
have this.
it does not depend on anything.
Harrison was like, if it's there, I'll eat it. I'm like, Harrison, you're too nice. Like, just be honest here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
I was just gonna ask, one last thing that I want to really, we've done a few times, Addison, that I think we really need to continue to do is have our guests, if they're willing to, pray us out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Dear Lord, thanks for bringing us together today. Had an awesome chat with these guys, Lord, and I pray that you continue the ministry that they've started and touch people that listen to this podcast, Lord. And Lord, even if they don't listen to this podcast, I pray for those who don't believe, and Lord, that you can enter their heart and make a home for yourself, Lord. And Jesus, I pray for those who do believe that they can continue to grow stronger in their faith and be disciples of Christ like we're called to do and go make other disciples, Lord. So again, Lord, I thank you for Josh and I thank you for Addison and thank you for this beautiful day that you keep on providing for us, Lord. And in your name I pray, amen.
Amen. Thanks for your time, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for watching our podcast and our show. Hopefully you enjoyed the conversation as much as Addison and I did. If you want to check out more of Brett, we'll have him linked in the description. Check out some of our other videos, some of our other podcasts. Again, thank you so much for watching. We try to post every Tuesday and every Friday. Look for our socials down in the description below. And again, thank you for watching. Have a great day.